Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Winnipeg Sports Talk post-game reaction. Michael Remis here, joined by Connor Hrabchak. We're here following Game 1 of the Winnipeg Jets' first-round series against the St. Louis Blues, where the Winnipeg Jets were victorious 5-3. It was a roller coaster of emotions, but the Winnipeg Jets found a way to play the way that they've played pretty much all year for the second half of that game. But we're going to go through the entire game and talk about, Connor, how are you feeling after that one?
My head hurts. It was so loud in here. Game 1 last year as well, obviously the Jets won 7-6, and it was a crazy roller coaster as well. But you don't really remember how loud the whiteout is until you're a part of it. And being in the building, it was insane right from the start of puck drop, even before, when warm-ups were happening, 15 minutes before puck drop. It was insane in this building. And then the Jets take the lead with, a minute and a half left, score the empty netter, and this building did not stop cheering for the final minute and a half of this game. So it's playoff hockey. This is awesome. This is the best time of the year, and this was a great playoff game.
Yeah, this game really had everything. The game one, the anticipation coming. You had a lot of lead changes. You had some nervousness for sure, and then you had a go-ahead goal in the final minutes of the game. I don't want to call this one a classic, but it was certainly a great opener to the 2025 playoffs. We'll go through the game. I mean, pregame, it just felt like, the whiteout. I think they've really perfected how to do it here with the street party, and the fans know what to do coming in dressed in white. I jokingly call it, Winnipeg Jets Halloween. You got face paint, overalls, you got crazy hats. It's just have a really positive atmosphere coming down to the rink. And in pregame, I know the live band this year, great addition for the whiteout as well. And when they announced the crowd, when they come out, everyone's going crazy. But I thought for Connor Hrabchak, when they announced him as the starting goalie, the MVP chants, then it really went up a notch.
Yeah, there have been MVP chants the final month of the season here inside Canada Life Starter. Those were the loudest by far. Connor Hrabchak was asked about it after the game, and he said that was a moment he will remember for the rest of his life. Those were deafening MVP chants. And I know you've talked at length with Hustler on Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Helly for Heart, they're pushing the narrative, but this moment before the game was really awesome to see for a player who has some question marks, at least nationally, about his playoff performance. And the Jets, the whiteout, they were behind him with the MVP chance, and Connor Hrabchak clearly appreciated that after the game.
Yeah, and so I think those questions were coming up in the first period, regardless, if there were power play chances or, how high danger they were. I mean, during the anthems, Jordan Binnington did get booed during the U.S. anthem because they showed him on the Jumbotron, and you as a Canadian, you kind of feel conflicted on how to feel about the guy. You're like, I'm so thankful for his performance in the Four Nations, but for this, if you're a Jets fan, you're like, screw that guy. I guess it's Jets versus Blues here. True North showed, very loud as well. First period, I mean, man, the St. Louis Blues came out flying here and, almost got on the board early. Pavel Buchnevich missed a chance after a turnover, and the Blues really had them, in the Jets' end for a while, and they got on the board first. It was on the power play. Rob Thomas all alone on the left side after the Jets thought they had it cleared. Rips one top corner, and it's 1-0 Blues.
Yeah, and this was maybe a case of the Jets getting a little over-aggressive at the line. That puck was bouncing, and both Adam Lowry and the other penalty killer, who's escaping me right now, both charged to the top of the blue line. Cam Fowler kept that puck in, and then Robert Thomas was all alone at the left circle, beat Connor Hrabchak. There wasn't really a screen. There was a player standing back door, so there was maybe a threat of a pass. But you said the St. Louis Blues came out flying. I could not agree more. They are a big, fast, physical team, and they showed it in the first 5-10 minutes. Scott O'Neill admitted after the game that maybe his team looked a little bit nervous in the first couple of minutes, and the Blues, playing on the road, playing kind of with house money, going into an opposing building, came out and kind of punched the Jets in the mouth, at least for the first 10 minutes. They were hitting everything that moved, and I think that helped contribute to the Jets' nervousness, and they're cautious with the puck and misplays, and then they end up on the penalty kill. And this play where they're maybe trying to get a little over-aggressive burns them with Robert Thomas, who was fantastic in this game. Easily the Blues' best player, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you're watching that game, and, you're trying to put past playoffs behind you, but you keep having flashbacks to the 2019 series against St. Louis. You're having flashbacks. I don't know, it's game one of last year, but this was turned out to be its own game. And should mention the penalty that put the Blues on the power play, a Luke Schenn interference penalty. Scott O'Neill not happy with the officials after that one, and I think there were a couple penalties early where I don't think either team was happy about that. And again, St. Louis continuing the pressure, continuing the hits. I mean, there was one play, Alex Iafallo had the puck in their own end, and they just took it away from him.
Yeah.
They're almost bullying the Jets, and but the Jets had a turn to get a power play. Jake Neighbors gave Iafallo a little slash, and he went into the box. And the Jets power play, which coming into this, coming into the playoffs here, hadn't been humming like it was in the first half. Really missing Velarde, missing Ehlers, and you kind of saw that here tonight.
Yeah, but this first goal at least was an instance of Mark Scheifele maybe getting a little bit lucky, trying to go backdoor with the pass, and it goes off of a Blues defender's skate or stick and goes over the shoulder of Jordan Binnington. But both of these calls that resulted in power play goals were both terrible calls. Like, I think we can admit that. The Luke Schenn one, it's kind of just clearing the front of the net. Like, this is the playoffs, and he's making sure his goaltender could see. You see battles in front of the net all the time. That happened 100 times more in this game, and it went uncalled, right? Like, that's just a net front battle. And then the Jake Neighbors one on Alex Iafallo, that was barely even a slash. So that was clearly a makeup call as well, I thought at least. And both teams came out with a goal. So I think they take the trade-off. Each team got a power play goal, and it was game on from there.
Yeah, I promised myself after last year I was not going to overreact to what's called and not called in the playoffs.
On both sides.
On both sides
Yeah.
today, but it is, it is what it is, and you got to play with the way that it's called. And I'll say the place erupted. I think this was the loudest pop in the night, and I thought this was, at least from the DB meter they showed on the screen, the Mark Scheifele goal, 114.7. And, all game, Connor, I thought the fourth line really brought the energy. Jared Anderson-Dolan has a knife shot on goal. And, they get the puck back to Luke Schenn. It gets tipped in front. Barron and Anderson-Dolan seemingly simultaneously tipping it. And it's 2-1 Jets. And, after maybe some nervousness early from them, seemed to have calmed down with the 2-1 lead.
For sure. And this is exactly what you're looking for from a fourth line in the playoffs, right? To give you energy, to give you offensive zone shifts. And that's what they did basically all game long. I love the synchronized celebration from both Morgan Barron and Jared Anderson-Dolan. This goal originally was Morgan Barron's, and then it got switched to Jared Anderson-Dolan. So I love the fact that they both dropped down to one knee and fully celebrated it. Like, no one knew who scored. Barron went first in line. We heard his goal song played here. It was his goal, and then it got changed to Jared Anderson-Dolan. But either way, that's like the epitome of fourth line playoff hockey. Is like, you don't know who scored, you don't know how greasy it was, but it ended up in the back of the net. And I really like Jared Anderson-Dolan and especially Morgan Barron all game long. And David Gustafsson deserves credit as well, that whole line. But Morgan Barron hurt for last year's playoffs. Not saying the Jets would have won that series if Morgan Barron was playing, but clearly he made an impact early in this game.
Yes, and a 2-1 Jets, but that lead did not last for long. Luke Schenn goes to block a shot and clear it out, but ends up right on the stick of Oscar Sundqvist in the slot and puts it past Hellbucks, and it's 2-2, and you're thinking, oh man, did the Jets learn anything from last year's 7-6 opener against Colorado? Are we in for one of those again? But it was 2-2, and credit to St. Louis for really bringing it in the first period.
Yeah, and this moment, I had flashbacks to Game 1 last year. It was chaotic. It was nervous energy in the building. It seemed like goalies couldn't stop a puck. It was weird goals, weird bounces, and that was all Game 1 last year against Colorado. That game ended up being 7-6. Obviously, things calmed down from this point forward, but this was an incredibly crazy bounce in front of the net, off of some shin pads, off of some sticks. Ends up right on Oscar Sundqvist stick. Connor Hrabchak, middle of the slot, wide open shot. Can't really fault him for that one. But it was a tie game because of the fourth line goal, and the Jets at least came out of the first period tied.
Yeah, one thing that we were noting upstairs in the press box were the hits after the first period, 32-14 for the Blues. And I remember one play where Nito Niederreiter had the puck. I think he got hit like 3 or 4 times in 1 second near the board. They brought it, but would they be able to keep up that energy for the whole game? And the second period is really when it started to turn. Pionk, but first Pionk, he took a roughing penalty at the end of the first period where he had Jake Neighbors in a headlock after a whistle. You can debate that call, certainly. But hey, the Blues started the second period on the power play, and that's where they scored, a couple of their goals tonight. Justin Falk finds Jordan Kyrou, who I thought was very noticeable, very strong all night. And it's 3-2 Blues. On the replay, you could see Hrabchak couldn't really see. It was Oscar Sundqvist again, all alone with the screen.
Yeah, and this, I don't want to keep bringing up last year, but the Colorado Avalanche scored how many goals?
Yeah.
That looked exactly like this one, where a player was standing right in front of Connor Hrabchak, he could barely see, and then one of these very skilled, talented players, like a Jordan Kyrou, is able to pick a corner, and it ends up in the back of the net. This is how you nullify the potential MVP, is you stand right in his way, make sure he can't see. And Jordan Kyrou, I agree. Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou, easily the two best forwards for the Blues tonight. The Jets will have to keep an eye on them going forward, because when they were running wild, when they were doing their things in the offensive zone, the Jets didn't have an answer for it. And then as the game went on, they started to solve that and really lock things down. But these first couple of periods, Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou looked like they were on a mission, and we're not going to be stopped by the Jets.
Yeah, you were wondering back to the last time these two teams played in this building earlier in the month, and the Jets really steamrolled St. Louis.
Right.
But you're wondering, was that was that just that game? And this is a different game, and St. Louis, seemingly more rested after the end of the season,
For sure.
ready to go. But the Jets really found their game here. I thought, 5 minutes into the second, it started to turn. They had a lot of pressure. The fourth line, Jared Anderson-Dolan had a nice spin move. The top line, I thought they were dangerous all night. Kyle Connor with a number of chances. Nino Niederreiter hit Perfetti with a chance, and they just kept stringing together shift after shift.
Yeah.
The Jets were out shooting the Blues, and however, Jordan Kyrou, went past Samberg and was on a breakaway, and Connor Hrabchak shut the door, and he really didn't have a lot of work, but that was the biggest save of the night. And if he would have scored there, who knows? It would have been 4-2 Blues, but that was the big stop of the night easily.
Huge save. And this is at the point when everyone online was freaking out about Connor Hrabchak and his playoff struggles. And this is a massive, massive save because, like you said, the Jets are down 1 at the time. Jordan Kyrou's on a breakaway. Dylan Samberg, this puck is in the air.
Yeah.
Kind of misplays it. He doesn't really know where it is. Bounces right behind him. Jordan Kyrou, like we've said many times, easily one of the Blues' best forwards, most dangerous forwards tonight. And Connor Hrabchak shut the door. This was a huge, huge save. I remember saying it in the moment. Remember the save if the Jets came back, and they did. And that was a big one from the Jets MVP.
Yeah, and the Jets, they had the pressure all in that second half of the period, retrieving pucks, putting pressure on St. Louis, not letting them get it out of their own end.
Yeah.
And it paid off. They did end up, Luke Schenn throws a shot on net, the final 30 seconds of the period. Nemestikov, he's going to get it in the corner, and he is hacked down by Leddy. I thought that was just an undisciplined penalty, and it gave the Jets a power play, for the final, 15 seconds of the second period, but to start the first.
Right. And you were thinking, the Blues scored on their rollover power play going into the second period. Would the Jets be able to score on their rollover power play? But they were unfortunately unable to. But like you said, I thought the Jets were the better team in the second period. They didn't get the results to show for it. And then Adam Lowry, after the game, said the Winnipeg Jets did not cheat the game. They knew that their structure was working. They knew they were playing well. Going into the third period, they didn't try and cheat for offense. They just kept playing the way that they were playing. And it served them well in the third period because they dominated the third period. Like, this was a complete domination in the third period. The Jets had the puck basically the entire 20 minutes in the St. Louis Blues offensive zone or defensive zone. And it's all because the Jets didn't cheat the game. They kept playing to their structure, something that maybe they didn't do last year against Colorado. And it's a sign of improvement this year.
Yeah, for me, someone asked me, what was the X factor for the Jets? I'm like, well, are they going to play the way that they played all regular season? Because last year, they fell out of that, and they gave up odd man rushes over and over again to Colorado. And Connor Hrabchak, I didn't think he had much of a chance back there. And this year, the first period of game one, maybe there was some nerves, and this huge crowd in the whiteout, the pressure, the expectations. And playoff hockey is certainly different. The Blues came out very strong
for sure
with the body checks, but they couldn't keep that up. You can't have 30 hits a period for 3 periods. Just the shots on goal there. Second period, it was 10-6 for the Jets, and the first period was 9-7 for the Blues. And in the third period, as you said, all Jets, you have the power play, and they got set up Kyle Connor had a really, really nice chance early, and it was stopped. They tried to hit Perfetti. It was stopped, and after that power play, it was the Blues who got back to the power play. Dylan Sandberg with a hook on who? Jordan Kyrou, who was, again, he had his legs going tonight. The Blues power play set up. And then here's where some, I don't know, extracurriculars started. I follow crushed in the corner by Bolduc.
Yeah.
They go to the bench, and Bolduc is mixing it up, slashes I follow, and goes to the box, cross checks.
Yeah.
I don't know what these guys are doing on the power play. They're taking another penalty.
Yeah. Yeah, and we talked to Jim Montgomery after the game, and he said that that's a penalty you can't take in the playoffs, is the one that Zach Bolduc took here. The Blues have a power play. They're up a goal. Big chance to take a 2-goal lead like the Jordan Kyrou breakaway. And it's a huge hit on Alex Iafallo. I mean, that's also a momentum boost if you want to take it as the St. Louis Blues. And then going back to the bench, Zach Bolduc just cross-checks Alex Iafallo. Totally unnecessary. Makes it a 4-on-4. The Jets get their first penalty kill of the game. I think it's worth noting that the Blues were 2 for 2 on the power play going into this one. So the Jets penalty kill was not stopping the Blues power play, and they nullified the rest of their full minute of their power play because of this cross check. And this was maybe the turning point of the third period and what sparked the Jets comeback. We knew that they were playing well, but to get out of this penalty kill and get a minute of power play time, even on the other end of it, was a huge swing in momentum.
Yeah, their power play. They had the 4-on-4 and then the power play. They're just not moving, as quickly as they were early in the season, where you have everyone rotating. They're kind of standing around a bit more, looking for that tap in, and weren't able to score. The third line came in. Tanev had a nice tip, but it was the top line who was the Jets' best line all night, the most dangerous line. And Kyle Connor passes behind the net to Mark Scheifele, to Alex Iafallo with the side of the net, and he jams it in. We're at a 3-3 game, and 114.4 on the decimal leader. The place is feeling a lot better than maybe they were when it was 3-2.
Yeah, and you mentioned that line was easily their best all night. I 100% agree. How good does the Alex Iafallo contract look that he signed like 2 days ago? Like $3.6 million, and this is what you're getting? Clutch goals in the playoffs. You'll take that all day. And Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele, we'll get into the fourth goal, which was easily the highlight of the game. But Alex Iafallo, we know he's tenacious on the forecheck. We know he's built for playoff hockey. This is just going to the net, getting a greasy goal at a time where the Jets were getting a ton of chances, and it was going to take something like that to break Jordan Binnington. And yeah, that line going up against Robert Thomas tonight was really, really solid, especially the back 40 minutes. And Alex Iafallo had a big play in that.
Yeah, you looked like he went far side, just at the side of the net. Just a really nice, a really nice play by Scheifele and Connor. And you've seen that chemistry for years, and was very apparent tonight. And I mean, we're looking midway through this period. The shots were 5-1 to the Jets, and it's just wave after wave. They're stringing together shifts. Maybe a couple sketchy moments with Connor Hrabchak handling the puck, whiffed on it one time, almost shot it over the glass. It didn't happen. And then there was an icing, 1:45 left by the Blues, and here comes the top line, and Mark Scheifele finds Kyle Connor to go 4-3, and the place erupts.
The place erupts. That is the understatement of the year. This place went bananas. Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele. The Jets run this face-off play all the time. They go D to D. Mark Scheifele's curling around the net, and Mark Scheifele either gives it back to Josh Morrissey or cuts to the middle. This is one of those times he cuts to the middle. And how many times have we seen Kyle Connor find open space in the offensive zone and Mark Scheifele hit him with a pass? This is your best players being your best players in the playoffs. You need that to be the case. Them being clutch. The top line was so good all night, generating so many chances, and to score 2 5-on-5 goals in the third to lead the comeback was very, very impressive. And Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele, this was their chemistry shining through on a big moment. And yeah, I thought this game was destined for overtime, but not quite. Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor had other plans with this goal, and yeah, the crowd went nuts.
And they're up 4-3. Adam Lowry scores the empty netter. Time for celebration. And shout out to the production staff here playing songs. Felt like a party. They're playing songs. People were singing along to it. They're lowering the volume, and people are singing the words. It's Saturday night. You're excited. First game of the playoffs, and I think the expectations this year certainly higher than they were last year with the President's Trophy. And you do have those, 2018 kind of vibes. I kept going back. I thought of like every Jets game one home playoff game like in the last couple of years, like against St. Louis, against Colorado, against Vegas. But remembering it's Minnesota where it was that tight game and Joe Morrow scored the winner. Hey, who's going to be that playoff? It's almost Jared Anderson, Dolan tonight.
Yeah.
And there, Lowry scores the winner, ices it, and it wasn't over yet. I mean, I don't know what was going on, if it was just playoffs where you have Alex Iafallo with Jake Neighbors, Logan Stanley's getting in fights again.
Yeah.
So clearly, some animosity here between the two teams as the Jets were able to win game one 5-3.
Yeah, and those late game scrums there, I think 3 or 4 Jets players had their helmets off. Like they were in a scrum and players' helmets were getting pulled off, and it was just a mass pile of humanity. It was wild. And this is playoff hockey. The Blues are losing. They're not going to leave this game without taking a chunk out of the Winnipeg Jets. So they're going to start a scrum. And I thought the Jets handled themselves well. The second scrum, the refs just started kicking everyone out. There was like 10 players left on the bench for the Jets. Half the players gotten kicked out of the game. But this is playoff hockey. This is the competitiveness, the intensity. The crowd was into it, like you said, singing along. The Jets went up 5-3. And yeah, they handled themselves well late in this game and took the 1-0 series lead.
Yeah, so Winnipeg Jets 5, St. Louis Blues 3. And hey, if you made it this far in this video, make sure to hit the like, make sure to hit the subscribe button, because we're going to have plenty of content from this series, from the Winnipeg Jets and St. Louis Blues, weeks to come. And tomorrow morning, Connor, you're going to be hosting WST Sunday Live with Jacob Stoller, Liz Hood, and you're going to have a very special guest, aren't you?
Yes. So if you tuned in to Hockey Night in Canada, if you weren't in the building, Elliot Friedman is going to be joining us on WST Sunday Live. Super fired up for this one. Obviously a colleague with Jacob Stoller, who works for Sportsnet.ca. And Liz, you mentioned her. She was out doing some great street party content. So I can't wait to see that on the @Sports Talk WPG social channels as well. But yes, join us Sunday, 9 a.m., WST Sunday Live. Coming out of a big playoff win, this is going to be fun.
Yeah, again, that game, it was an emotional roller coaster. There were lead changes, again, it's familiar feelings from past years, but no, this is the 2024-25 Winnipeg Jets, a different team, a team that got 10% better from last season, as they vowed that they would. The final shot total 26-17 for the Jets. St. Louis outshot in that third period 9-2. Certainly made it easy for Connor Hrabchak, and maybe there are some questions from people about his playoff ability. The save percentage, they flashed it on the screen. Right. Certainly was not great with 3 goals allowed on 17 shots, but I think those are some pretty high danger chances by St. Louis. They capitalized, and the Jets will move on and move forward to Monday at 6 p.m. here for game 2 of the series.
It's not a 9 p.m. start. It's like, how many times have we been subjected to the 8:30 p.m. local start on a weeknight? This is a huge win that it's 6:30. Huge win.
Hey, the NHL knows that the Winnipeg Jets are the top team in the NHL.
Canada's team.
They know that the whiteout is the best atmosphere in all the playoffs, and that's why you're having them lead off. You're having them lead off the 2025 playoffs, not because they played Wednesday,
right? Yeah,
and the Leafs played Thursday, not because of that, because they know that the Winnipeg fans are the best fans, and they certainly showed it. And I mean, every year, you see the clips on social media of everyone in white going crazy, and really, brings a lot of attention, I think, to how great the fans are, and also how great the product on the ice is as well.
Yeah, and like I said off the top, you kind of forget how loud and how crazy it is until you experience it again. Scott O'Neill even mentioned after the game that the crowd oohing and awing and getting quiet when they were down and getting super loud when they were up, like the ebbs and flows emotionally that you feel as a player on the bench, or as Scott O'Neill, the coach, coaching in his first ever whiteout, must have been crazy. And the Jets were able to harness that energy and use it in the third period and held the Blues to 2 shots on goal. This was a smothering defensive performance. And it was exactly what you needed in the final 40 minutes from the Jets if they were going to win this game, and they delivered.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing the game 2 of the series and how they can follow up from this one. Just looking through ice time, I mean, the easy leaders, Scheifele, Iafallo, Connor Liner on 21. 22 minutes, that Jared Anderson, Dolan with a low 7:07, Barron 9:10. The Perfetti, he was up there 17:42, a lot of power play time for him. And on defense, Josh Morrissey, the leader, 23:51. You had Stan 13:22 as the low, Shen 16:19, Pionk 20-34 getting some power play time, and Dylan Sandberg 21-13, DeMello 19-04. So, pretty even as you've seen all year. They rolled all the lines and able to come out on top.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was, they did lean on certain players in certain moments. And I like that from Scott O'Neill. Like this late game icing, they throw the Scheifele line out there. And it's not Morrissey DeMello, it's Morrissey Pionk because they're going for offense. They have the matchup that they want. So they're going to put their 5 best offensive players out there, at least defensively and offensively. Their top line was rolling. Josh Morrissey had another great game. He's in the Connor Hrabchak tier of we don't even talk about him anymore because he just plays well every night. And Neil Pionk, also freshly signed off that extension, coming up and playing in that big moment where the Jets got the winning goal.
Yeah, and I think we've said it all.
I think we have.
I think we've said it all, Connor. So for Connor Hrabchak, Michael Remis, this has been the WST Winnipeg Sports Talk post-game reaction. See ya.